Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. Creative Vitality Jam Sessions and I walk in solidarity and as allies for equality, justice, and respect. Because Black Lives Matter. And we will stay in motion until change comes. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is Marika Brussel. She's a choreographer from San Francisco, and we have known each other since 2018. Marika has done quite a bit of work. Here she is. She can tell us about the work she's going to do. Hi, Marika.
Hi, it's great to see you.
You too. Now, I pronounced your name Brussel. Is that right?
I love it that way, but it's not how I pronounce it. I pronounce it Brussel.
Okay. I'm sorry. So everyone, Marika Brussel. There we go. Pardon me. I always have to put my own ridiculous spin on it. I think it's the days of living in Europe. But anyhow, it's great to see you. You look beautiful. And first question for everyone, what part of the world are you in?
I am in San Francisco, California.
One of my favorite cities, went to high school there. I love that place so much. I would live there if that would be my first choice of place to live. So Marika, I would like to start with 3 ballets that you have choreographed. They are, they have very specific themes, perhaps not a hard and fast narrative, but really strong themes. So this is why I wanted to start there. Unraveling, about life with dementia, Still Time for the Impossible, about climate crisis, and From Shadows, a ballet about homelessness. So huge themes. So the question I wrote was, what drew you to these 3 subjects as a creator? It's kind of obvious they're great themes, but what journey? And this is interesting. What journey, maybe unexpected or expected, did it take you on?
Well, they're all personal, I feel, particularly Unraveling and From Shadows. So I'll talk about Unraveling first because it's the oldest one. And I work with a lot of seniors. I work with people with dementia. I teach dance to people with dementia. So that's one of the things I do. And I really love older people. And I started to feel connected to some of the way that their brains work now. One woman said to me, isn't it interesting how in here, we're in California, but out there it's Illinois. And it was like her mind trying to make sense of change, but you're not making new memories. And so I started from there. And then my husband's mother has dementia, and we started to see the progression of that. And so I wanted to make a ballet that showed how the person is kind of all these people in one, and how you in some way stop seeing them as you. So I wanted to show that, and so the dancers are in the same costume and they kind of split apart and try to come back together. And that was a really interesting piece for me, personally and intellectually. And if I could do it again, I think I would do it a little bit differently, of course. But the idea really sprung from a personal place. And From Shadows was that, but amplified much more for me. When San Francisco has a huge homelessness problem. It makes New York, where I grew up, like paradise in some ways. And so I started working on a piece because I found myself wanting to shut down. It was just like too much to take in as I, walk to teach or like walk to rehearsal. It's like there's so much happening that it's hard to to keep moving, like to keep having empathy. And I thought, I don't want to lose my empathy. So I want to make a story. And so I started working on it in this like outside way. You know, how are we not seeing, and just like in a general way. And then I was working on a grant and someone asked me, well, why you? Like, why should you do this piece? And I was like, oh, but in a very offhand way, oh, well, my dad was homeless when I was growing up. And I was like, oh yeah, my dad was homeless when I was growing up. This isn't about them. This is about my experience. And that just started changing everything for me. It became a story. It became my story in a lot of ways. This is a very long, a long story. And when we were rehearsing for the piece, we were rehearsing in Civic Center. There's a Burger King across the street from the library. So we rehearsed upstairs from there. And so the dancers would have to like come through this sort of like homelessness enclave. And so we would talk about it every day. And it was really a very amazing experience for me.
Wow. I want you to mention, if you want to, still time for impossible, but I want to go back to the unraveling. It's very interesting about seeing people for who they are, not for the changes that are happening, because I think it's so important to say you are an amazing adult person who has done so much in their life. And now there are changes happening to memory that are harder for people outside of what's going on to understand. But that doesn't mean that and this is, I think, what happens, they're not less than anybody else. They are just different. And what a great analogy for all of us, that we are all of us different. We are all of us, and I think it's so beautiful because the judgment gets stripped away and you're enjoying the person for who they are.
I think what you said about how and instead of but, right? You have all this experience and now you're making changes, and it doesn't diminish what you were. And yeah, that's really poignant what you said.
And new things might come up, new amazing things because of this shift that, that we might not have a clue about, that aren't experiencing that. So did you want to mention Still Time for Impossible?
I do want to, particularly because that's the piece I was working on when I met you.
Yes.
At Maryland School of the Arts. So I mean, obviously climate change is something we're all, I hope, all aware of and concerned about. And I was working with, I knew I was going to work with younger people, and I wanted to make something that spoke to them and to their experience.
I remember so clearly now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was a really cool experience to work on this piece because I had a really big cast. I had 18 dancers, and I wanted to make sort of an intro about like, why are we in this situation? So I looked at the 7 deadly sins and, greed and avarice, and it's all these things that make us gluttony. Yeah. Why are we here? Greed, all these like, all these like evils. So I had the kids they weren't kids, but I had the dancers personify those extremes, which sort of like led us into climate change.
I remember some of those conversations as I, satellited through the 4 of you that where the mentoring was happening. And I remember talking with you about that and how to bring the intensity of the situation to a young person. I mean, we remember when we were that age, you know, there is an invincibility that if you know, if not too much bad has happened to you, young person, by that point, because that also is comes into play. But there's an invincibility to many at that, or that many in that age feel. And with that invincibility, really great things come. You know, you see that in the young activists today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it was a really amazing team to work with these 18 young people. You know, it's a great age to work with thematic situations because it can change and shift their lives and really mean something to them. So it brings that to your work. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. You also gave me some really great advice for that, because it didn't mean, climate change didn't mean that much to all of them. You know, some of them were like, I don't feel that. And so you told me, you know, have them find something that is really concerning to them in their own lives and have them write about it. And I did that. And I felt like it really deepened the experience for them. So thank you for that. It made a big difference.
Yeah, man. It's being a choreographer is so much about finding the right tool for every single person, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Um, let's see. I cut off the beginning of that question. In reimagining yourself, and what a reimagining you have had. You went from professionally trained ballet dancer in New York, where you're from, as you said, into earning an MFA in fiction writing. Then you went back into the profession and became a professional ballet dancer. And then you went into choreographer. I think these pivots happen more often with artists than perhaps young people know, you know, or people might be aware of. What spurred you to take this hiatus in dance? And then I assume writing, and I'm saying assume, but I know because we've spoken a lot, that writing meant a lot to you. So that pivot from between the decision of taking a hiatus into that MFA, what were some of the actions that led to that?
I was
Back further if you want to your training.
Yeah, I was very competitive and ambitious, and I loved that. Like, I loved being competitive and ambitious. I still do. Like, I love that aspect of being alive. I think it's really invigorating. And I was all in. You know, I was a scholarship student. I danced professionally when I was very, very young. It's all I knew. It's all I wanted. And then I discovered boys was part of it. And just, my ambition lessened.
Okay.
At the time, I thought it was everything or nothing. So I thought it should be nothing because it wasn't everything anymore. So I just stopped, and I didn't really let myself think about it too much. But I did miss the everythingness of ballet. You know, it's everything. It's spiritual. It's, I mean, you know, but it's everything. And so I was looking for something else all the time. Like, what else can be like this for me? And I kind of stumbled into a creative writing class at Hunter College. I found this great teacher, Louise DeSalvo. She was amazing. She just passed away. And she really, in some ways, gave that back to me. Like, it was a different way of expressing myself. And I threw myself into that, the way I throw myself into things. And I found that it was a really inspiring way to be alive, although it wasn't physical. I didn't do anything physical. Like,
Really, it's amazing.
Yeah. I sort of did a little yoga, but really nothing except walking. And then I went to graduate school, and I became a writing adjunct in college, and I taught writing, and And I loved it. And I felt, you know, this was it for me. I was just always going to write the way I was always going to dance. And then I moved to California and I taught in college. And then I moved to New Mexico with a boyfriend, no longer my boyfriend. And it's actually kind of funny to think about like the exact moment when I started dancing again, but I took an Aikido class with somebody. And I thought, if I'm going to exercise, I think I'm really going to dance because I love that. And I started, and my ambition came right back, and I was like, oh, maybe I could perform again. And I did. I got back in shape, and I performed again, and I thought, oh, this has been missing, and I didn't even know. You know, I didn't know. Now I'm whole again.
I so understand that about the word everything and whole when it comes to dance. Yeah, and that's what's amazing about interviewing, you know, these past 30 people. It's just extraordinary the the depth of each person. Like hearing your journey now, and my God, all the knowledge that you hold, all the knowledge that you've gathered, and that sense of whole coming back when you come back home, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, home, it really is. And we didn't touch on this, but, you know, because when my father was homeless and that was a really hard time for me, I was like 11 and 12 and 13, ballet was home for me. Like ballet is what saved me in so many ways. And it continues to do that for me. And I think it does for many of us.
Yes. Yeah, it absolutely does. It's kind of the thing that I always say it's never given up on me.
Yeah.
Funny, you know, but yeah, I get it. Wow. So part of those questions you answered, what brought you back to dance? Well, here, how did that MFA, how did your writing influence you? And do you still write now?
I think what it did was artistically made me realize how my expression is the same no matter how it comes out. And my intention too is the same. Like my intention with writing was to make, well, twofold. Like one, to make people feel connected. Like you are not alone. You are not the only person to feel this. And the other was I wanted to, this is a little young, but I wanted to break people's hearts. You know, what that really was what I wanted people to feel.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for choreography. Like I want people to feel connected. I want people to feel like, oh, me too. You know, we're included. And I want people to feel empathy. And what I realized when I started choreographing was that my process is the same. Like with writing, I would try to get it all out at once and then go back and craft it. And I do the same thing with choreography. I know some people like do it little, like, oh, it has to be perfect, has to be perfect. And I'm not like that at all. It's kind of messy. And then I try to make it something.
I'm similar. I get ideas out, and then yes, the word craft is beautiful. I love the word edit. I just love the puzzle of editing. I love it, and I like you. I like new puzzles. I need those new puzzles to make it. There's just something about honing, right? That craft. It's such an enjoyable part, isn't it?
It is. It's like a little magic.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, and it's like cooking, like the spices, you know. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. As a choreographer, how do you bring a ballet to life? You just alluded to a bit, but in more depth, is it music first, ideas first? Yeah, how do you craft? How do you go, using your word, how do you craft or bring a work to life?
I almost always have a story in mind, some sort of story. You know, I don't have details, but I have like a general idea. And then usually I go and look for music that will inspire the story more. And I love looking for music. It's super fun. And then it kind of evolves once I start working with dancers. I've been working with the same dancers a lot, but when I work with new people too, it's like, oh, I didn't think of that. Like, oh, your body can do that. That would be interesting for this story. And what I've been doing more lately, like with the stories that the ballets you brought up, is looking at contemporary issues and putting them in a ballet context, which is what I think I'm coming to be more and more interested in.
And so the three ballets we mentioned at the beginning, you said absolutely they're stories. So here's a question. Do you actually write some of these stories on paper before you start?
Not before, but during, and I kind of outline them. You can't see, but I have on the wall, I have paper, and I kind of draw and outline the narrative. And here's something that I did once that was I think it was really cool. So I'm part of a writing group, and I've been part of this writing group for over 20 years in San Francisco. And when I was working on From Shadows, I did it in different iterations. Like I did a 15-minute version, I did a 30-minute version, and then I did a full-length one. And for the middle one, I had my writing group come, and we had a critique afterwards as if it was a novel. Like narratively, how did that work for you? And they're not dancers. They don't go to ballet. They just looked at it narratively. Narrative, like there's a hole here. I don't understand this. There's this character, and it helped tremendously, and it helped how I think about it. It was really, really cool.
Well, gosh, put them on your payroll.
Yeah.
I mean, right. Well, you know, the non-payroll, but wow, what an amazing instrument, and so smart.
They are so smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so this is quite exciting. You are the co-producer of Virtual Pathways Dance Festival in San Francisco. I want you to tell us all about it, but here's some questions. How was this idea born? And then can you tell us about it and how you see this festival, you know, function in this time?
So Virtual Pathways Dance Festival, it's coming up pretty soon in September. My friend and fellow choreographer Alessandra Wu came up with the idea, and she said, how can we help other choreographers and other companies get through this time? You know, choreographers are not able to do what they do for money right now. And it was in the beginning, you know, now I feel like we're in the middle of the beginning. It was in the beginning. And she said, you know, we all have this work that's sitting around in our archives. What can we do with that? Maybe we could try to raise money by having a festival. And she came to me, she actually texted me. She's like, do you think anybody would be interested in this? And I immediately said, I think everybody would be interested in this. And I would love to help you do this. So, and then another female choreographer who is from San Francisco, but currently is living in Berlin. She said, I want to help too. So we got together, and I mean, it's really Alessandra's brainchild, and I feel like I'm supporting her in this. And she said, well, wouldn't it be great if we could have like a featured established choreographer, you know, lead each night. And then we would have other people who are, you know, somewhere in their careers who have work that's good and, you know, working towards something as part of that evening. And originally we thought, let's do it by genre, you know, let's do it, you know, ballet, contemporary, you know, blah, blah. And we brought it to another friend of ours who is really involved in equity in dance. And he said, you know, you're going to rule a lot of people out that way. Maybe you should do it by theme. And we thought, oh, I never thought of that. And it's had its own challenges, but that's how we're doing it. We're doing it by theme. So we have 4 nights, and you are one of our featured artists, and I'm so excited. You're like the only person I thought of, and you said yes. It was amazing. And Doug Verone is another one who has also been a mentor to Alessandra and to me, and is an amazing person. And Complexions is going to be on it, and You Dance Theater, YU. So we have some wonderful people, diverse artists, and I'm super excited about it. I think what our intention is, so all the money, it's going to be, we're selling tickets, and all the money will go to the artists. So all the money will go to the choreographers. Alessandra and Carly and I are not taking any of the money, so we can really like let everybody have it. And this is an experiment. It hasn't been done before, and we're hoping it will continue. You know, the pandemic will be over someday, but we would like to keep this going. We think, you know, we're in a different time.
I agree. Yeah.
This is the first one, and we get to be a part of the first one.
Yeah, and you know, another guest just said it's so exciting to be, Raphael said it is just so exciting to be part of something new. Mm-hmm. It really is, you know. I've always enjoyed that as well. And you don't want to say the dates yet?
Oh, I do want to say the dates. Yeah. So it's September 10th through the 13th.
So it's actually happening in 2 days.
Yeah, right. It's in a couple days. I'm in it. I have a piece in it. I am so
happy. Thank you for saying that.
And I feel so. I have to admit. I said I really want to be in the night that Helen is headlining. It's really important to me. And so Alessandra said, of course.
Contemporary ballet choreographer, right?
Yes. And so we're doing the opening night in 2 days. And we have a Q&A, and I believe that I am leading that Q&A. So we'll do a little like shifting here.
And is that the same night?
I think there's a Q&A every night.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. Great idea. So really present and in the moment, and oh, it sounds very exciting, and I'm really honored to be a part of this launch. It's I remember, you know, you coming to me early on. I was like, yeah, I do. This sounds great. Just really happy to support. You know, it's a female-driven idea. I love that. It's in, you know, the city of my heart, and you know, I mean, it's funny, you know, I consider I have 2 homes. I'm from California, but San Diego, but San Francisco, when you go like New York, the place you go to high school, such formative years, right? Yeah. It really shape a lot of thought and empathy, I find. I mean, that San Francisco has such an extraordinary energy. And filled with, you know, just extraordinary, diverse, empathetic, liberal-minded, people who like to use their brain. It's just an amazing city. New York, where I lived for almost 20 years, is akin to that. Because I didn't live there when I was younger. I went there when I was 31. Mm-hmm. But again, San Francisco.
San Francisco has a vitality to it that it's different from New York, definitely, but because it's also calmer in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, it's California.
California, you can wear sandals. Not today because it's cold. But yeah, there's an excitement about it, and I should mention that importantly, this festival is co-presented by ODC Theater.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes. Also, very long-standing institution in San Francisco.
And run by women.
And run by women, exactly. You know, it was there, if I'm not wrong. I don't want to say something wrong. I believe it was there in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I remember as a kid going to San Francisco Ballet School, I remember that name.
Mm-hmm.
And just made always interesting, beautiful, thought-provoking work. And I'm so happy that they're partnered in this festival. Yeah.
Yeah, we're really excited about that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So wow. So looking forward to that in 2 days. Oh my God, we have our premiere in 2 days. Okay. You have a new full-length ballet entitled House of Names, which had to, of course, be pushed to 2021. Do you want to talk about this work? It's such an evocative title. Maybe if you don't want to divulge too much about the work, maybe something about the title.
Yes, I do. Thank you. So House of Names, I'm interested in mythology. I've always been interested in mythology. And I'm interested in taking some of the themes of mythology and looking at it from contemporary times. And the idea actually was born from a collaboration with the composer and Carla Lucero. And we were on a panel together of women choreographers and composers. It was just last year, but it feels like forever ago. And we met on this panel, we saw each other's work and we're like, cool, that's cool. And we started talking about doing something about women. We have similar hopes and aspirations in our work, which is, social justicely driven and empowering women. And so we were looking at different stories, and we decided to look at Cassandra, the story of Cassandra, and she's the narrator of this piece. She was given the gift of prophecy and she could see the future. And then Apollo came on to her and she said, no. And he said, well, okay, I can't take away your gift, but I can curse you and you will always tell the truth and no one will ever believe you.
Oh.
And so she's the narrator and then everybody ignores her through the whole piece. And I thought that was really appropriate for our times. And so she's the one in the beginning of the ballet who we tell her story, and then she kind of stands in the back the whole time with everybody ignoring her until the end.
Emperor complex.
Right. Exactly. And then the other people in the story don't really have names, and that's how the title came. So Lot's wife in the Old Testament, she never has a name. Yeah. I gave her a name.
Good. About time.
Yeah, right. And I'm looking at that story. Originally I was looking at it as an immigration story because it is an immigration story where, Lot's talking to God and God says, I'm going to destroy your city, so you should get out, but you can't look back. And she looks back and she's turned into a pillar of salt. And I thought, well, of course she looks back. Everything is there. Her friends, her community, maybe she's looking back to hold out her hand. Maybe she's not looking back in defiance. So that's originally how I was thinking about it. And then with the pandemic, the dancers and I were talking and I was like, well, what if you knew that this was going to happen and but you could leave, but everybody else is going to die. What would you do? And not that we're going to die, we're not, but
I know what you mean.
You're going to hold out a hand. You're going to have some compassion. And so that's how that story evolved. And I have such amazing dancers. And then La Llorona, which is more of a Mexican story, but about a woman who kills her children in revenge. So it's like Medea. But I decided to look at it more as a postpartum psychosis story. You know, a woman who, she lost her mind. Like, how can you have compassion for this person? And I really struggled with that with the dancers. And so I have the dancer, and then the voices in her head are the other dancers.
Oh, it sounds captivating.
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, we've been, who knows what it'll look like, because, I mean, I think it'll look great someday, but we've been rehearsing through Zoom, and it's really interesting to have these pieces. And then there's the story of Miriam, which is also a biblical story, and she was the first woman prophet, and she was a leader and is often ignored. So I wanted to bring her in too. And it's a happy story, and everything else is not so happy.
Well, I mean, first of all, great basis for work, and also giving actually bringing women to light, and also giving women names that didn't have names, and doing, you know, a different look at these situations. Because, you know, Joseph Campbell, you know, in his amazing work, that, you know, religion, it's really the metaphor that's placed on top of it, and very often the interpretations are meant. So, you know, it's the importance of the other gender has really falls away, and so much of that and is under the thumb, or is also come to life because, you know, not even in her own way, you know, but it springs to life from a body part of guys. So what an interesting, I can't wait to see this work. And I have to say something. The disparate parts of your Zoom rehearsals. I mean, you just said you love the editing and the crafting part. So what a great puzzle ahead of you.
Puzzle, exactly. It's definitely, yeah. And, you know, it's actually a really exciting challenge. All of this is an exciting challenge.
Yeah.
When I thought that I would be able to do the ballet in October in the theater to no audience and stream it, I changed all the partnering to be socially distant. And that was an exciting experiment. It was a good, I love partnering, and but it was cool, and you can do it. And it just shows us how creative and resilient artists are. The dancers, right away, they were like, yes, let's do this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, the same three questions. Brett, that plays for everybody. Do you have a favorite or impactful memory from your creative life? I know there are many, but something perhaps off the top of you.
Can I give you two?
Sure.
Okay. So the first one is like post creation process. And it was from the From Shadows ballet. And after that one premiered, after the show, we had like a little party. And this woman came up to me, and never met her before. And she said, she was a young woman, and she said, I just want you to know that I was homeless with my family when I was a child, and I've always been really ashamed. And now I feel like I'm not. Now I feel like I feel seen.
Oh.
And I just thought, holy moly, like that's all I ever wanted. Like, so that was huge and really heartening moment for me. And I thought, cool, like I want to do, this is the kind of thing I want to do. So that was I mean, maybe not joyful, but like important moment for me. And then the joyful one was actually yesterday, and that's why I wanted to have two. I was doing the Zoom rehearsal with my dancer, Alexis, and with a dancer, Alexis, and we're working on Miriam. And there's, she has like a little space, and there's this moment, it's a little faster, and she just, her face lit up and she smiled, and I could see the love of dance in her face. And I just thought, oh, this is great.
Yeah. 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 Bringing joy.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have an insight or daily inspiration that you can share about living a creative life?
Um, well, I've been thinking about this a lot. Um, and I've been thinking about like offerings in some way. And I think for me, and this is like mainly for dance people, but I can think of a way to do it differently. Like taking class has always been a meditation for me, and it has always brought me back to myself, even though I can't do what I used to do, and my hip hurts, and Grand Plie isn't so awesome anymore. But just the stillness and the repetition has been like hopeful for me, just to be able to go inward in that way. And I think if you don't have dance, you can have some other repetition. I think repetition is so important, and it's just the dailiness of doing things, the dailiness of cooking, the dailiness of taking care of yourself. I think thinking of things in terms of like now and now and now is really important.
Yeah, the ritual of now is very important.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then one of my favorite questions. In supporting and building a more equitable dance community, what do you believe needs to be shifted or changed? I always say the caveat, I know there is much, but do you have one highlighted idea now?
I think giving opportunity right at the beginning. I think that there are a lot of kids who would benefit so much spiritually, emotionally, physically from dance, and they don't even know it exists. So I think making that opportunity happen in the schools, in the street, wherever you can get to kids, and making it like financially possible. I mean, for me, I knew about dance because my family knew about dance. And also I'm white, so like it was easier for me in a lot of ways. But kids don't know about it. And I think starting right there and giving that opportunity, we would see this rise that we need.
Yeah, it's similar to when I was a kid, there was always art class. Now it was painting and stuff like that, which is super important for a kid's brain. But can you imagine if it was, I'll even give dance a short shrift here, but art class 3 days a week and movement and dance twice a week, that it was just a part of the curriculum from like kindergarten or preschool, moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then it's kind of across the board. It's in school.
Right.
No one's excluded. Yeah.
Yeah, the exposure.
Beautiful. Marika, I've always enjoyed chatting with you. I remember our chat so fondly in North Carolina when we had the chance to work with each other. But thank you so much today for this beautiful, you had such an elegant energy. It was just a beautiful chat today. Thank you so much. And I'm so thrilled that your work is going to be seen in 2 days. And your themes are just poignant and needed, and I just wish you the best in all of it, and I can't wait to see more of your work, which I will see again in 2 days. But do you have a website or social media or something where we can find out more about you?
I do, and it's all my name. So my website is marikabrussel.com.
Great.
Like, it's super easy. I have a Facebook page, Marika Brussel Ballet, and I'm on Instagram, Marika Brussel.
And it's with one L.
One L.
Yeah, 2 F. Yes. Okay, great. And so if you wouldn't mind staying with me while I finish up, you will find a short bio about Marika in the description page below the video that you will watch, her interview. And you'll find out some other information there as well. This is Creative Vitality Jam sessions are twice a week, Tuesdays and Sundays, with amazing guests. And on our next session, you'll meet Lee Foster. And she is the executive director of Rialto Center of the Arts at Georgia State University. Another ambitious go-getter. Now it's time for thanks. I want to thank Gracie Spina, who does so much every day, every session, every quick text. I want to thank the ever-present family of dance, our everything, our whole. I thank you. And Marika, again, thank you so much for today. Let's keep of course. Let's keep reimagining creativity. Thanks to everybody for watching, and until next time. Bye.